Today on Ian versus Daddy Bones, we're wrapping up October and talking about Keldor and Skeletech. Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian versus Daddy Bones. I am Ian Daddy Bones. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook right now, hey everybody, what's going on? As always, I got a special high five and a nut tap to all the Facebook and Patreon subscribers supporting the brand, getting access to bonus content, and your name in the credits is my way of saying thank you for supporting the brand. And real quick, I'm going to be updating all of that shit real soon because we're about to start year 3 of Ian versus Daddy Bones, so I need to update the end credits, the graphics, and everything. I mean, everything's pretty much going to stay the same. I just need to upgrade the pictures and add a couple names and whatnot. But today on the show, we are getting closer and counting down the final days until it's Halloween 2024, and you know, it's one of those type of things where it just seemed like yesterday it was fucking summer and everybody's bitching when they're seeing Halloween decorations and stuff get put out in stores for the first time, and people are like, oh my god, it's not even the end of summer and they already got the fucking Halloween stuff out, and here we are, 3 fucking days until Halloween's about to go down. So, you know, soon it's going to be all on clearance and you're not going to see it again until next fucking summer. And soon we're going to be able to see Spirit Halloween turn into Spirit Christmas, which is really fucking creepy when you look at it. If you see the Spirit Halloween logo and how quick they were able to Photoshop that shit into Santa Claus, like, I can only imagine what frickin' Spirit Patriot is gonna look like on the 4th of July when they're trying to sell fucking fireworks to everybody that's scared of them. You know what I mean? But today on the show, like I said, for the purpose of October and Halloween, we have been opening up members of the Evil Horde within Masterverse across the different sub-brands. I did Hordak, I did Acolyte Skeletor, I did Grizzlor and Leech, and since the last episode where I filmed the Horde Troopers, I managed to track down Shadow Weaver at my house, and I knew I was trying to remember another Evil Horde member I had in my collection, which I remembered as Catra, who's like, you know, who's like, even, you know, Hordak's the villain, but in the comics, She-Ra and Catra clash and whatnot, and even in the reboot series, they give more of a backstory on their relationship and whatnot. So I got Shadow Weaver and Catra from the Evil Horde remaining to be opened, and they are going to be opened. Let's put it this way. Catra I got planned for November with She-Ra and Frosta, just so I could be done with all my Princess of Power that I have in my collection right now. Shadow Weaver I'm going to be doing for Patreon and Facebook subscribers as a quick video. I'm actually going to probably film that when I'm done filming this. But with everything that I've opened up, there's still, you know, while it's been Evil Horde based, the focus of the start of the month was going to be Skeletor and these different versions of Skeletor. But with the Evil Horde members that I had that I wanted to add to the mix, you know, I started doing Hordak and then Grizzlor and Leech, and it was fucking great. I have them off camera, but, you know, perfect timing for the Masterverse Horde Trooper to come out this month, because not only did he drop like last week on Tuesday, but he arrived at my house on Thursday afternoon, so it literally took less than 2 business days for me to purchase 2 of those guys and have them show up. But, you know, so I got 2 Horde Troopers with my Evil Horde that I've been building this month, so it's pretty cool having them added to the mix. But with everything going on between the Masters of the Universe sub-brands, the comic books from Dark Horse that's tying into not only Masterverse but Revolution and Revelation. There's a 4-issue Revelation series that just wrapped up before the current Turtles of Grayskull series began, and that was like as deep of a reimagined, what's the best way to say it? It's the best rebooted current origin for Keldor that we've gotten since Masters of the Universe Revelation first started airing on Netflix. So you got different continuities within Masters of the Universe, and a lot of the Keldor news came out during the Classics era, but that era is done. We are now in the Netflix era, and especially with the Netflix era trickling down into the multiple toy lines, we got more Keldor right now in toy form than we ever did before, because we never got him at all. So I'm going to start off with the King Keldor figure from Masters of the Universe Revolution. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to start with Keldor. I'm actually going to be starting with Skeletek, because we can't really tell his story in Revolution until we wrap up his story from fucking Revelation. Because in Masters of the Universe Revelation, at the end of that series, in the final episode for that part of the series, Skeletor went back to Snake Mountain and took out his frustrations on everybody that betrayed him, who wound up joining the motherboard, like Whiplash and fucking Triclops and Trapjaw. So Skeletor was pissed, and he went back and he's lashing out at everybody. But as Skeletor's lashing out at everybody, the statue in the back of Snake Mountain that was referred to as Motherboard started to come to life. And when Motherboard started coming to life, she basically had these tendrils, these hoses shoot out from within her that then, stuck themselves into Skeletor. And with what I know with comic books and everything, especially with Tony Stark's Extremis armor, basically Motherboard not only started pumping Skeletor full of freaking nanites, but the nanites slowly started tech converting Skeletor into an obedient servant of what was then revealed as the evil Horde when Motherboard projected out Hordak's Horde logo for all to see. And that's the cliffhanger that ended Masters of the Universe Revelation. So going into Revolution, after the fact, when that debuted on Netflix, a lot of people were wondering, well, what exactly happened with Skeletor? And with the action figures getting revealed, hold up, there it is. And with the action figures getting revealed, they accidentally spoiled what happened to Skeletor, because with San Diego Comic-Con, these figures were leaked, not only the figures, but the packaging and whatnot. So they basically showed off what happened to Skeletor before the series started and picked up where it left off. And we have what's being... Now, it says Skeletor on the packaging. And before I go into playing with my figure, it says, after shockingly teaming up with He-Man to save Eternia, Skeletor returns to Snake Mountain to reclaim his throne. However, the cult of Motherboard have transformed him into a cybernetic slave. So it still says Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction. Now, going back to Motherboard and what exactly this did to Skeletor, it makes me look back on something else within Masters of the Universe that I think Motherboard might be a reimagining of. And that would be none other than the Evil Horde Slime Pit. Classic playset from the 80s. I got it from my Uncle Mike and my Aunt Sue for my 7th birthday. It was one of my favorite childhood toys. It was this chambered trap that held a figure in place, and you put slime in this dinosaur bone skull, and the slime would ooze out of the mouth and cover the figure, and it was super gross and disgusting, and my mom hated it and feared for the love of her upholstery, couches, and carpets, and you know what I mean? My mom hated slime, but that slime pit was one of my favorite toys of all time as a kid. And looking back, the slime pit once somebody got covered in slime, they became an obedient servant of the evil horde, like a slime zombie, right? So if Motherboard is able to stick a bunch of needles in your ass and pump you full of nanites that then corrupt you into a half-robot cyborg while still somewhat human, obedient servant of the horde, other than the green slime, what's the difference between Motherboard and the slime pit? You know what I mean? So to me, they're kind of like the same thing to a degree, even though they're vastly different. So Skeletor being corrupted by Motherboard and turned into what the internet has dubbed Skeletech, but at the same time, He-Man also referred to Skeletor as Skeletech in the series. So it's not just internet created name for Skeletor, it's something he's actually called in the show by He-Man, but I'm trying to get his feet rotated right so he stands. Now, this Skeletor figure shows, you know, as you can see, it's Skeletor, but he's back to wearing his black and red Horde Acolyte armor because he's now back into the mix with the Horde, and he's no longer in charge, and Skeletor is actually being controlled by Motherboard. And this version of Skeletor, what the Motherboard and Horde tech did to Skeletor. Hold on, I'm trying to get these feet to frickin' rotate. These feet are absolutely horrible. What the nanites did was, once they started corrupting and taking over Skeletor's body, it wound up taking Skeletor's Havoc staff and like merging it together with his right arm. So he has this Havoc arm, which for the purpose of an action figure, it's like one of those like bendable wrestlers, because it's the rubber and it's got a wire inside it, so you're able to bend this to a degree, but it's not articulated like his other arm. And it kind of sucks, in my opinion, because it's like so heavy. Like you could definitely like hold him by his left arm and all the weight's right here in his right arm, and even holding it by the right arm, it's super light on that end. So I will say I'm not the biggest fan of his gimmick arm, even though I know what they were trying to accomplish, and it does look cool. I'm just not I've never been a fan of like the bendy toys with wires in it, even as a kid. I don't care if it's something stupid like I get an Easter bunny in an Easter basket, he's got like bendy legs and bendy arms, like Happy Easter, Ian, you know what I mean? I don't give a fuck about that rabbit. And even like back in the day with like my LJN figures, I liked the LJN figures. I didn't really give a fuck about the bendies. Like I know Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, Major Wrestling League, they like they like the Bendums, you know what I mean? They got their own line to Bendums right now, and it's like, I'm not interested in the Bendums. And even back in the day with the Jack Pacifics, when they had the Bendums, I was not a fan of them. But so with that said, like he's got the wire in his arm. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but at the same time, I'm not a child playing with these. Like, this is just going to be in my collection, and when I get the right shelf to put my Masterverse figures on, he's going to go on there. And I just need to, all I need him to do is stand up and not fall over. But right now, I am not liking these robot bird feet on this Skeletor. They don't seem to want to rock forward the best. Well, there it goes. Now I got it. Yeah, there we go. All right. So for the most part, I was able to get him to stand, but he's kind of awkward with the way he's standing, because my only other complaint with some Masterverse figures is some of the Masterverse figures, like especially some of the like villains, like I hate it when they're wearing the like sashes and like the bottom cloaks. I don't want to necessarily call it a skirt, but he's got like this gown bottom, but it's like this pliable soft plastic, which is great for like being form-fitting on a figure, but This is Skeletor. He's supposed to be the Lord of fucking Darkness. You know what I mean? The Lord of Destruction. Like, he's not supposed to be form-fitting like Malibu Barbie going to a fucking social event. You know what I mean? He's not going out to dinner. He needs to be able to fight. He needs to be able to bend his legs, bend his knees. But I don't feel that's going to happen with this figure. And even with the way the arm is, with the bendable wire, like, I feel like even if I bend that arm, it's going to get too top heavy if I have the arm up, and he's just going to topple over. So I'm not the biggest fan of the Skeletor figure, but it's also one of those type of things where I'm collecting this shit. So if I chose not to get the Skeletor figure, then he was going to sell out immediately, and I was never ever going to get another chance to get him again. But the cool thing that this Skeletor figure comes with, and now he does come with, I already see it in the bag, he only comes with one additional hand, and it's a punching fist, but I'm not really concerned about that. He doesn't really have, like, he doesn't have his traditional type of Havoc staff that he, hold on a second. Alright, he doesn't have his, like, traditional Havoc staff that most Skeletor figures come with, because the Havoc staff he has is grafted to his arm. The only accessory that this Skeletor comes with is Randor's crown. Because, spoiler alert, King Randor dies in the beginning of Masters of the Universe Revolution. So, and that I gotta spoil that in order for me to carry over to the next part. But this Skeletor figure comes with Randor's crown, and that will be explained after I open up the Keldor figure why he has Randor's crown. But I'm very happy as a Masters of the Universe fan, seeing how, for the purpose of this, like, rebooted / continued timeline of what was supposed to be a continuation of the Filmation series, which was a fucking lie, but going forward with this Kevin Smith series, I like what they're doing. I'm very happy with this as an adult Masters of the Universe fan, seeing what all these new people, artists, writers, producers, creators, directors, everybody involved with not only Revelation, but Revolution, and even this rumored Aftermath third part, which could be a reality coming soon. You know, I like what they're doing. I really like what they're doing, because the reality is Masters of the Universe has never been more popular than it is right now, and that's a fucking fact. Some people can look at me and be like, yeah, right, it was only popular in the 80s, nobody gives a shit about it right now. It's really not the case, because when you look at it between comic books, the new media that's available on Netflix, walk into your Walmarts, walk into your Targets, look online at Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, there's like, I mean, including the failed CGI toy line, there was 5 Masters of the Universe toy lines going at once right now. You got Origins, Masterverse, Cartoon Collection, Turtles of Grayskull, you know, and the CG series, because you can still buy the fucking toys online. So, you know, post-pandemic, I never thought I'd be late, and even during the pandemic, because this is what kept me sane during the pandemic and shit. When I'm stuck in my house and remote learning my kids was, thank God He-Man's turning 40 at the same time I am, so now I can buy Masters of the Universe toys again. You know, it's like, they're doing it justice. I'm so fucking happy with everything I've been watching as far as Revolution and Revelation, and these figures have been absolutely sick. But I'm gonna take a quick break, and when I get back, we'll open up Keldor. back on Ian versus Daddy Bones. Now, I've spent a lot of time over the past 2 years talking about Skeletor, and at times, depending on how long you've been watching the show, I've spoken about Keldor at times. So I talked about like Keldor's backstory before, you know, their attempt at trying to make him a thing in the 80s, but the toy line got canceled, so we never got to really learn about Keldor. But then in 2000X, they started off that Cartoon Network Toonami series with the very first episode showing us how Keldor became Skeletor in that version, in that timeline, in that universe. So Keldor's not new anymore. And even in Masters of the Universe Classics, they wound up making a Keldor figure. And in Masters of the Universe Origins, recently, I'm talking like 2021, they put out a Origins of Evil 2-pack, which was Keldor and Cronus. So it was Skeletor body with the Keldor head that looked absolutely amazing. And then it came with, I'm sorry, by far one of the worst fucking figures in Masters of the Universe Origins. And it's funny that I'm saying that because at the heart of it, I'm talking about my favorite character in Masters of the Universe. But holy shit, Trapjaw is amazing. Trapjaw is a threat. Trapjaw is the main event. Cronus is a fucking jobber. Cronus sucks. Cronus is a figure of Trapjaw before he got fucked up, before he got the mechanical arm, before he got his face like fucked up and got the mechanical bottom jaw. You know what I mean? This version of Trapjaw looks fucking lame. I literally use my Cronus figure just so I have an ass in a seat in my fucking land shark. Like, that Cronus figure is useless. I don't think he's got a hideous fucking face. But anyway, they put out a Cronus and Keldor 2-pack in Origin. So Keldor did finally get a figure in Origins in the same scale of what would have been and should have been a vintage release. Okay, trying to look at this packaging real quick. Now, as I'm opening up this Keldor figure, hold on, he's got some tape holding his cape to the inside of the packaging, which honestly I like a lot better than times where they ruin capes by putting the little plastic ties through the fabric. So from the minute you take the figure out of the packaging, you already damaged the cape and shit. Like, it was like that on the Superpowers Batman and Superman figures that I did buy, and I wound up giving them to my nieces and nephews to play with because, I don't know, I kind of gave up on that line. I was not happy with it. But real quick, before I take him off and finish the rest of his bindings, the back of it says, King Keldor. Randor's half-brother from the Isle of Anwat Gar. Keldor returns to Eternos to assume the throne. And that's the thing. That's like a major part of the story with Masters of the Universe Revolution, because it's something that, like, I don't want to say changes the status quo, but it's something that, you know, makes something permanently clear in Masters of the Universe. And the one thing that's permanently clear in Masters of the Universe, even though Skeletor was always trying to take Castle Grayskull, and Skeletor was always trying to break into the royal palace and, you know, take out Randor and the Queen, you know, at the end of the day, because of Keldor's backstory and everything about that that's now official canon, Keldor is the true king of Eternos. And I've talked about this before on the show, because with the more I learned, with the more they've revealed about Keldor with the stories and whatnot, at the end of the day, Masters of the Universe, when you really think about it, is like Star Wars and Thor had a baby. Because, especially with like Keldor, Randor, and if you're a fan, you're aware of Miro. Miro is the father of Keldor and Randor. Keldor is the oldest, okay? Randor is the youngest. So when Miro took Keldor to Eternos and adopted him, he and his wife had Randor. So now he had a firstborn heir. He had a blood son instead of a stepson, an adoptive not an adoptive son, it's his real son, but it's the stepson to the queen. So, but because of his blue-skinned race, you find out how racist the people in Eternos were, to where if something happened to Miro, they were not going to accept a Gar king. They were not going to accept Keldor as king, because they're racist, and that's the way Republicans and conservatives felt about Obama. Okay, so just pretend Barack Obama is fucking Keldor, and that's why they don't want him to be king. Okay, so you got Barack Keldor, and he's the true heir to the throne. But the thing is, he winds up getting banished because of the reasons why they don't want him to be king. And it's kind of like the dirty royal secret that they even wound up keeping from Prince Adam and everybody else, that Keldor basically didn't exist. And, there's different continuities and timelines and universes within Masters of the Universe. So, to a degree, I can accept that Keldor has different origins in different universes. But for the purpose of revolution and revelation and why this figure exists, a lot of it ties over to the comic books. But basically, in Revelation, after Randor dies, and, Adam's like giving a speech, and he's not sure if he can be king. He's like, I don't know if I could take the crown. And then someone's like, then don't do it. And he's like, who said that? And then Keldor's in the crowd. So that's like how the first episode ends. So then when it goes into episode 2, Adam and Keldor have already like introduced each other, and they're already like talking. And so Adam's like, so you're my uncle? You know what I mean? So to a degree, like Miro, going back to like Thor, Miro would be like Odin. Randor would be like Thor. Keldor would be Loki. Okay? So they wouldn't want Loki being king because of the frost giant thing. So, you could like put little pins in where who certain characters would kind of mirror, when you compare Masters of the Universe to Thor. But then by the time it gets to Skeletor and He-Man, then it kind of becomes Star Wars with the whole, no, I'm your father. It's like, no, He-Man, I'm your uncle. And it's like, what? No way. So when Keldor's introduced, Adam feels the right thing to do is to make Keldor the king of Eternos. Adam doesn't want the crown because he can't be king and He-Man at the same time. He needs to like pick one or the other. So he gives the crown to Keldor. So we get King Keldor. But then the whole thing winds up being a ruse during the events of the show. Because when Skeletor... See, the thing is, I'm watching as a He-Man fan, so I'm watching Keldor become the new king, while at the same time Skeletor and the motherboard just showed up to raise hell and fuck shit up. I'm like, wait a minute, how is Keldor and Skeletor existing in the same place at the same time? So then, fast forward to later in the episode, it gets revealed that Keldor set all of this up because in the reality of the situation, Skeletor was really using a cloaking device and pretending to be Keldor, even though Skeletor was really once Keldor. Skeletor was pretending he was Keldor, but it was Motherboard who was masquerading as Skeletor, while like Trapjaw and Triclops and everybody else showed up to fuck shit up. So it's like the whole thing was a ruse, and you know, it made for an interesting story. And like I said, I'm not gonna get into the full rest of it because I highly recommend you watch Masters of the Universe, Revelation, and Revolution, because I mean it's really fucking gripping. I really enjoyed it. You know, I tried getting into the 2000X Masters of the Universe series, and for the most part I did enjoy that series. I honestly love the art style, the way all the figures were like, you know, reimagined for like a modern time. You know, they were given that year 2000 look, when back in the day year 2000 was such a fucking futuristic term, you know what I mean? So it, you know, their character designs fit 2000X in its era. The art style and the animation was absolutely amazing. It's just, we were living in a Grand Theft Auto, Pokemon, PlayStation 2 world, you know, post 9/11, and at that point in time, kids didn't give a fuck about a recycled, rebooted 80s toy line. Nobody had time for Masters of the Universe back in 2000X, and I totally understand it. I totally get it. And even Mattel didn't even get it at the time, because that whole toy line was a fucking disaster because the distribution was fucking atrocious. But going back, you know, these figures are absolutely sick to a degree. Like, I mean, I've opened better Skeletors. I mean, he's a great looking Skeletor. Like, I have him like standing like on here right in front of me, and I got the like the red lights like hitting him, and he looks pretty fucking sick and shit. But you know, if I was a kid playing with this isn't the type of Skeletor that I could really play with, other than, you know what I mean, making him walk around and shit. But for posability, I think he's absolutely terrible. I got better Skeletors that pose better, but I don't know. With the Masterverse figures, I'm definitely not a fan of the soft, pliable plastic, soft goods fucking skirts. Like, I understand it's supposed to be like, you know, regal and elegant and whatnot for the purpose of, you know, looking manly at the same time. I'm not really feeling it, because it may look good watching it on screen in the cartoon, but at least it's animated and looks fluid like fabric in the cartoon. It's not like stiff and hard as fuck and I can't do anything with it. And thank God these like robot fucking rooster feet, you know, I was able to get them to move like the way, like, look at him, he looks like fucking robot talons and shit. Looks like goddamn Crow. But, you know, I'm able to get him stood up, he's able to stand, and it's not a problem, but I got him holding up the crown. I don't know, maybe I'll have him raise it above his head. That arm wants to fucking move. See, that's the thing. Sometimes the joints are like super stiff with these fucking figures, and other times they move like it ain't nobody's business. Like sometimes you got super loose arms and shit. But yeah, he comes with the crown. Keldor, this head is not wearing the crown, but he does come with an alternate head that does include the crown. So I don't know if I'm gonna pop off that head or not. I might, because I mean the figure is called King Keldor after all, so I might as well pop on his crown head. But yeah, it's kind of cool because this Skeletor does come with the crown, and honestly I think that's the reason I bought that fucking Skeletor, because even when I first saw him I really wasn't too impressed. I'm like, he looks alright, but I'm not really feeling that bendy arm, and it is what it is. But with the accessories, it's the little attention to details. Just like certain wrestlers coming with certain title belts with the WWE Mattel figures, you know, certain accessories are only going to come with certain figures. So I don't know what other figures are going to include Randor's crown, because they already revealed what the Burger King Randy figure is going to look like in Masterverse for New Eternia, and he looks pretty fucking dope. And I don't think he comes with a removable individual crown. So I am glad I got that Skeletor, the Skeletech figure for the purpose of getting the crown. But other than that, I got better Skeletors. But Keldor's, a great figure to add to my collection. Again, he, other than like moving his feet to stand him up on the table, I haven't really had to fuck with him too much. But at the same time, for the purpose of putting him on a shelf, he's already posed the way I really intend to have him posed. You know, he didn't come with an accessory. He doesn't have a sword or a shield or a scepter or anything. All he has is himself and his fabric soft goods robe with the fur on the shoulders, and he looks pretty fucking sick. So that's going to do it for this episode of Ian versus Daddy Bones. If you're interested in getting these figures, they should still be in stock at Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store. You should be able to find them on Amazon. And honestly, for the purpose of this wave, and I'm looking at the figures on the back, it's got Battle Armor He-Man, Mechanic, Triclops, King Keldor, and the Skeletor is part of the wave that includes Sorceress Teela, New Eternia Man-at-Arms, New Eternia Trapjaw. I am telling you that the Keldor wave should, without a problem, still be available on the shelves at Walmart. I know he's available at my Walmarts because I see Mechanic and Triclopses while I'm looking for new figures to come out. But honestly, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, Trapjaw, Skeletech figures, these were the figures that were available this time last year. And actually, I honestly had these in my pile of loot. I actually wound up having this Skeletech shipped out to me in February. So this guy's been sitting in my house waiting for me to open him at the right time, and Keldor too. But like I said, everything happens for a reason. I needed something to talk about during Halloween and scary season, and I spent October opening up some Skeletors and going into members of the Evil Horde. So I have an Evil Horde built over the course of the month, and while I do not have her present, I already talked about her, and she was a bonus video for Patreon subscribers. And honestly, now that I think about it, I need to get that video off my external hard drive, and I need to make that available for the Facebook subscribers. But I already did an unboxing and an opening video where I opened up Motherboard. So I do have Motherboard in my collection, so once I get that shit all set up, that's going to make for a dope photo. I'm going to have Motherboard, the two Horde Troopers, and then the members of the Evil Horde, so it's going to be super fucking fresh. But everybody, thank y'all very much for rolling with me during the month of October. Thank you very much for everybody who's been checking out my content, sharing my content, engaging, interacting, throwing the hearts. You're really helping me level up and increase my reach, and I can honestly say September was a bitch and absolutely horrible, and I don't know, my shit like kind of fell in the red on the professional dashboard end of things, but as of right now, I'm like up in the green. Like, you know, when it says like my percentages based on the past 30 days, I'm like 15 to 25% higher this month than I was last month at this time. So thank y'all very much for helping me get my reach up. But like I said, go to the Facebook page, throw me a like on the IDB Ian versus Daddy Bones page. If you can do me a solid, takes 3 seconds, invite 1,000 people and send them over my way. I would really appreciate that. It would also help me increase my reach, and it's free as fuck. But I got a bonus video I'm going to be doing where I'm going to be opening up Shadow Weaver for Patreon, Facebook subscribers, and I also got a bonus video I'm going to be working on. I'm going to try my best to drop it on Halloween. It's not going to be a Halloween special, but I'm going to take an opportunity to run down Mattel's lineup and drops for Masters of the Universe, Origins and Cartoon Collection, Masterverse, and Turtles in Grayskull. So until next time, cheers!
Fuck Ian Daddy Bones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout outs. I'm Daddy Bones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic. 24/7, I got the party. Roofie-roos and whoop-de-doos. Retarded fools with attitudes, bro. Everything's mixed with Bacardi. Glow stick black like tons of bubbles. Titties on bitches, nothing but trouble. Got my pills, ain't no quitter. Pop that shit, here comes my glitter. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang on your all invited. Get kids posing, muscles flexing, trainings dressed like your favorite X-Men. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, you give high fives but you fucking hate me. Might have rabies, might have herpes. Breastfeed me and you'll have to burp me. I'll be up on stage, throwing out beads, grabbing my dick and spraying my seed all over your face. That's fucking rude. Raise it up and show your boobs. Dance around and go friggin' nuts. Just b-boy stance and light your blunts. Don't be a cunt. Tuck your chain, don't start no shit. Use your brain, it's all a game. Let's play some Yahtzee. Eat Tide Pods and punch a Nazi. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited.